The key Georgia Bulldogs to watch for against the Tennessee Vols. I spoke with you guys on Wednesday about the Vols who will be key in this game, and it's going to come down to the trenches. But Georgia has some elite players themselves, and Tennessee will have to account for them. So let's talk about the key Georgia players for Tennessee to watch for when the two face off on Saturday. As there are a lot of interesting players that are going to have to be accounted for across the board. Now, I'll say up front, Georgia's defense is going to be the big issue for Tennessee. So we're going to play 4 downs, and it's 4 downs for 5 players. But I'll end it with 2 defensive superstars. But we'll have 3 other players on here for the 4 downs. So again, I don't have Dave Hooker soundboard, so I start off with Cooper Mays here. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Coop. For those who don't know why I do that, again, I say it every day, but when Dave Hooker is out, Dave Hooker has a soundboard that has Cooper Mays' voice teeing us off for all the downs. We don't have Dave Hooker right now. I don't have the soundboard, so I do the Cooper Mays impression. So once again, Cooper Mays here. Like and subscribe. Thank you, Coop. Let's get rolling. Coop here. First down. 5 Georgia Bulldogs to watch for against the Dogs. 5 Georgia Bulldogs to watch for against the Vols. Number 5 is Gunnar Stockton, the quarterback. Gunnar Stockton, the quarterback, is he's the quarterback. They obviously got to watch for him against the Vols. He obviously has not looked well so far. This is his first road game ever in the SEC. Actually, no, it's his first road game, period. He played in the SEC title game on a neutral site. He played his college football playoff game on a neutral site. And he's played the first 2 games this year at home, Marshall and Austin Peay. So this is his first road game as a starter. And it's in the SEC at Neyland Stadium. That should be a huge advantage for Tennessee, but he's still the quarterback. You still got to keep an eye out on him. Gunnar Stockton, so far this year, his stat line is to have played 2 bad teams is relatively mediocre, but it is efficient. He's 40 of 58 for 417 yards, averaging 7.2 yards per attempt, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a 140.7 quarterback rating. So Gunnar Stockton is, again, with Georgia, you got to watch out for him. He is very key on that. Gunnar Stockton at number 5. He's not great so far. Could be a liability for Georgia, but he's still the quarterback, so you got to pay attention to him. Cooper Mays here. Second down. Well, thank you, Coop. All right, number 4 on this list. C.J. Allen, preseason All-SEC linebacker, second team, I believe. He had 76 total tackles last year, 49 of which were solo, 3 tackles for a loss, and an interception, along with 4 pass deflections. This year, through 2 games, he has 9 solo tackles, 11 combined tackles, 2 tackles for a loss, already a sack. He's already kind of becoming a mini breakout player. He looks like he's got a lot of talent out there. Joey Aguilar is going to have to account for him every time he snaps the ball. He could be sent on pass rushes. He could drop back in coverage. He could be very tricky in what he does. But Tennessee needs to establish its run game against Georgia. I said they have a chance in the trenches against them. If they're going to do that, it will require the efforts of the offensive line and the blockers keeping C.J. Allen in check. There could be some one-on-one matchups between the running back and the linebacker. Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down. Thank you, Coop. All right, third down. There's not a lot of proven weapons for Georgia yet offensively. So I didn't know where to go here on who Gunnar Stockton would look towards, because many people are going, Nate Frazier was the highly touted running back coming into the year for Georgia, but he has not been what they thought he would be to this point. He has 25 carries for 116 yards. He's averaging barely over 4.5 yards an attempt, does have 2 touchdowns, but Dwight Phillips Jr. has 12 carries for 115 yards, averaging 9.5 yards per attempt. I don't know if that means Dwight Phillips is actually better. I feel like from what things I've read about Georgia and seen, Mike Bobo is misusing Nate Frazier in the run game. If that continues, Tennessee could be in very good shape. But Nate Frazier is not the guy I think they need to watch out for. My top guy for Tennessee to watch out for on Georgia, believe it or not, and by the way, the 2 go-to receivers are Zachariah Branch and Colby Young, who have 112 and 106 yards receiving respectively. However, Oscar Delp is the guy. They have kind of hidden Oscar Delp. They haven't used him too much so far. He only has 2 catches for 33 yards. He's the tight end. But last year, Oscar Delp had 21 catches for 248 yards and 4 touchdowns. The year before, he had 24 catches for 284 yards and 3 touchdowns. They've been saving him. According to all reports, he's a preseason All-SEC guy too. They've been working to maybe make him their Brock Bowers this year. I think that Oscar Delp is the guy to watch out for the most for Tennessee, and this will really test Arian Carter in coverage along with Jeremiah Thielander. The linebackers have not proven themselves in coverage to this point. They have got to make sure they do a better job of that. But particularly with, and as you guys are pointing out on the message board, just to point out on the message board that yes, Gunnar Stockton processes slowly. A lot of times when you process slowly, though, your go-to becomes your tight end and your safety blanket. And Arian Carter is somebody who has to prove himself a little bit more in coverage. 4 Downs, again, brought to you by Ted Russell Ford Lincoln, your home for the finest vehicles in Knoxville, new and used, East Tennessee's largest Ford and Lincoln volume dealer.
A beacon of hope in a world of high prices. Look to the skies, Knoxville. Super savings is here. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer.
Right now, get 0% APR, 0 down, and 0 payments for 90 days on select models, plus 2 years complimentary maintenance.
Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location, Parkside Drive, or Kingston Pike.
All SEC Center Cooper Mays here. 4th down. Thank you, Coop. All right, 4th down. It's a couple of players that we have to mention. So, 4th down is this. Preseason, first-team All-SEC, potential All-American caliber players. In the secondary, K.J. Bolden. K.J. Bolden started as a true freshman for Georgia. He is a sophomore now. He last year had 40 solo tackles, 59 total, 2 tackles for a loss, a sack, an interception, and a pass deflection, and a forced fumble. Already has a pass deflection this year, 10 total tackles, 3 of which are solo. Hasn't had to be used too much to this point. He also can sometimes be a return specialist, has only returned 1 punt this year so far, but definitely worth paying attention to on that front. KJ Bolden is going to be a key player for Georgia. By the way, 4th down is this. Defensive superstars. KJ Bolden is one of them. Joey Aguilar is trying to beat Georgia. Now, I think Tennessee's chance to beat Georgia is in the trenches. I think that Tennessee's chance to beat Georgia is more in the trenches than anything else. However, Joey Aguilar is going to have to connect on some big plays, and I think they have the players to do it this year for the first time, most notably Mike Matthews on the outside. Tennessee has never had a go-to wideout dictating coverage as fast as Mike Matthews. That can stretch Georgia's secondary and allow Tennessee to do what they want to do offensively against them for the first time since Josh Heupel's been at Tennessee. And with that in mind, I think that KJ Bolden will be tested. Tennessee has to keep an eye out for him. But the most important player to watch for when Tennessee plays Georgia is Christian Miller. The defensive lineman has hardly played this year so far. He's been in 2 games and has racked up 0 stats. I think they have saved him. Christian Miller is a 4th-year junior, had 27 combined tackles last year, 4 tackles for a loss, and 1.5 sacks and a pass deflection. He's the guy in the middle to blow up every play. Everybody's happy about Tennessee looking and how they've looked so far on the offensive line with 4 new starters, all new interior offensive linemen, including a new center. It was supposed to be David Sanders at right tackle, Lance Hurd at left tackle, Lance Hurd, the one returning starter. And then in the middle, Sam Pendleton at center, and then Jesse Perry and Wendell Moe Jr. as the 2 guards. However, Sanders, the true freshman phenom, has been hurt through 2 games, so they've had to move Jesse Perry over to right tackle and keep Moe and Pendleton in the middle while Sham Umarov steps in as a guard. I doubt they're going to make Sanders the first start against Georgia. So I think they're going to stick with Perry at right tackle and then those 3 interior offensive linemen. And for as good as they've looked, they have not been tested. Syracuse is very, very soft on the defensive line and offensive line. They are a solid program. Fran Brown is running a good program there. I actually respect what he's doing. He's at Syracuse. He inherited a bad program, though. He inherited a very finesse program, and he wasn't going to be able to fix that overnight. So he's trying to rely more on quarterback play and skill players, and then hope to build up the trenches later on a much lesser scale, similar to what Heupel kind of did when he took over at Tennessee, funny enough. Luckily for Heupel, Javonte Spraggins, Cooper Mays, and Jerome Carvin were already there, and they were developing well. Now, with all that said, this will be a huge test for Tennessee, and they will have to contain Christian Miller, who I think has superstar All-American NFL draft potential, and containing him could be extremely difficult. This is going to be one of the toughest tests for them all year. This is where you get your in the trenches. Games are won with the War Daddies on the line of scrimmage. Christian Miller, 6'4", 310 pounds. If they can contain him, they will be in good shape. And with that said, I think that it's key for Pendleton, Moe, and Umarov, or Perry if Perry moves back into the middle, if David Sanders does go, to be able to manage the defensive line in Georgia, the interior defensive line, and that starts with Christian Miller. And if they can't, they will be in serious trouble on Saturday, because I think this is the first chance Tennessee's had since Josh Heupel's been there to win the game in the trenches. And it'll start with Christian Miller on Georgia's defense.